Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the Book That He's Read This Week. So what's the old guy read this week? Well, the book I've read this week is this one. It's called Death of a Spy by M.C.Beaton, R.W.Green. Published by Constable as a hardback here in the UK on the 22nd of February 2024, and helpfully tells us on the front it's another Hamish Macbeth mystery. The original author of the Hamish Macbeth series, and we're on book number 36 now, was M.C.Beaton, who sadly passed away in 2019. But the series has been continued by her friend and fellow author R.W.Green, and it's fair to say R.W.Green's made a good job of this. I reviewed the previous book that he'd written on the channel called Death of a Traitor. Have a look on the channel page if you want to see my review of that one. So this was published 22nd of February 2024, so it's relatively new, and it's another adventure for Hamish. So who's Hamish? For those of you who don't know, Hamish Macbeth is a policeman. He works in a place called Lochdubh. It's a remote Highland village in the north of Scotland in the Highlands. He is a Highlander. He's a tall, gangly, red-haired, incongruous guy. He lives in the Lochdubh police station with his dog called Lugs and his cat called Sonsie. Worth mentioning, they both get a mention regularly in the Hamish Macbeth stories. Lugs the dog shows typical dog behaviour, that he wags his tail and gets excited by most things. Sonsie the cat, i.e. Sonsie the feral cat, shows the usual feline haughty disdain for most things. But so the three of them live in the police station at Lochdubh. The book kicks off with Hamish being summoned to Strathbane to see his boss, Superintendent Daviot. He walks into the room and he sees a face he recognises. There in a Chicago Police Department uniform is a guy called James Bland, who he's known before. He's been to Lochdubh before. Hamish isn't really quite sure what James Bland is. He seems to be part investor, part golfer, part playboy, part cop perhaps. He thinks he's probably a spook, he's a spy. And Hamish isn't very happy because he's told that Bland has been sent. The official reason is that it's an exchange deal with the Chicago police. The unofficial reason is he's here on a mission, and it's a top secret mission. Hamish isn't really happy about this. He likes working on his own. He knows everybody in the village. They know him. Doesn't want a partner. But what he does know, the Superintendent Daviot reminds him, is that Police Scotland are looking to close single-man police stations. And if Hamish wants his continued support to keep Lochdubh open, he needs to basically wind his neck in and do as he's told. And Hamish, realising that the sword of Damocles is hanging over him, reluctantly agrees. And he does know that at least Mr. Bland is competent. So it turns out the top secret mission, and they get a bit of Home Office paper, is to look at a aspiring called the Dozen. And this has already been featured in a previous Hamish adventure. And it's aspiring of a dozen Russian spies. They've got a list of names. 4 of these people have already died through natural causes, but a couple recently have died in what are seen as suspicious circumstances. And the thinking is that perhaps somebody is trying to close this off. You know, whilst the area which Hamish lives in is an area of outstanding natural beauty. Also in the north of Scotland, it's the headquarters of Britain's nuclear deterrent. It's got live military firing ranges. There's lots of military bases worth spying on. So the thought of a Russian aspiring is a viable concern. So they agree. So Hamish reluctantly agrees to help James Bland try and find out what's happening to the Dozen and see if they can identify some of the missing names, because there are names on the list that they can't seem to recognise. So they head back to Lochdubh. They have a meal in Lochdubh's best Italian restaurant called Napoli, which turns out to be Lochdubh's only Italian restaurant, in the evening, and trying to work out a plan of action. Meanwhile, there's another little problem for Hamish nearer to home, where the Anstey Bridge, the bridge leading into Lochdubh, in a terrible storm one night, has basically half of it has disappeared. So the two of them go and try and rescue the Mr. and Mrs. Patel from the local convenience store are stuck with their car on one side of the bridge, and the two of them go out to try and rescue Mr. and Mrs. Patel. But that gives Hamish another problem. He's got to help Bland sort out the spiring, and he's got to deal with local problems. We get the usual cast of characters in this book, including the Curry sisters, Nessie and Jessie, who regard Hamish as a bit of a waster and are constantly giving him grief. And lots of humour in the book as well, because Jessie repeats the last few words of what her sister says. So if she says, Anstey, bridge disaster, she repeats, bridge disaster. And there's one line where she says, who could handle such an erection, meaning the change? And Jessie suddenly realises she's better not repeat the last couple of words of that sentence. So lots of humour in with the mystery. So Hamish manages to get the bridge built by some friends in the army, the bridge rebuilt, but the main bridge needs to be rebuilt. New people come into town. This coincides with some burglaries in Lochdubh, some very violent burglaries. And Hamish has basically got his hands full. So he's got helping out James Bland, find out who's in this spiring, sort out who's responsible for an increasing number of burglaries in Lochdubh, and also, just for a laugh, he's got his somewhat tangled love life. His girlfriend, Claire, who's a medic, is saying, you're never here, you're always busy. And there are one stage in the book where she meets two of Hamish's old flames in one of the hotels in the village and refers to him as his harem. So to say Hamish has got a complicated life is an understatement. But it's a good read. It's a good, gentle mystery, very atmospheric. You get the atmosphere of being out in the Highlands. You root for Hamish because he's a bit of an outsider. Even in Lochdubh, he doesn't come from Lochdubh. He's a Highlander. You want him to do well. You get engaged with the character. There's humour in it as well as a mystery. It's not a really twisty murder mystery. It's a mystery where Hamish is using his powers of deduction, his local knowledge, to get on top and find out and root out the bad guys. So there is action, there is mystery, and it's a really good read. I enjoyed it. I think R.W.Green has done a great job in continuing the franchise, if you will. So I'd give it a 7 out of 10. That's it for this week's brief book review. 10/10 till we do it again. Thanks for watching. Bye.